Record. Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yeah, and we are here with Paul and Angela. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, yeah, and you guys are Square Lake Festival. You make it happen. So, and that's coming up next weekend. So, let's start by just tell us about next weekend. I mean, I know it's featuring Low's album release, but you tell us what's going on.
Yeah, the story I've told friends and people I've talked to recently is just basically that, it's been a very strange year, even though we were kind of hoping for COVID to go a different direction. But right at the time we were considering whether we'd have the event, and we're sketching out how we do it. We were reached, the Low camp, you might say, reached out to us. And the prospect of building an event around their album release became a possibility. So what we've done is really use our festival grounds as a backdrop to this beautiful album that they've made. And they've organized the bands, and we've narrowed the scope of the programming a lot, to the point where it's on the Square Lake Festival grounds, but it's solely focused on their album release and a few bands. So that's what we've got next weekend. We've taken out some of our traditional elements like the bike ride and camping, for somewhat due to COVID because of just spacing restrictions. And we've spread out the capacity for one day over two. So to give people a lot of space and hopefully a sense of security of enjoying the arts in a safe way.
So it's on September 7th and September 11th. And the lineup for each day is slightly different.
September 10th.
Yeah, 10th and 11th.
10th, 11th, is that not? Yeah. Who else is playing with Low?
Yes, so Low described, the bands they wanted to play. One of them that was on the list right away was a group from Austin, Texas called Lord Friday the 13th. And so very unique group, young bass player, guitar, and guitarist. It's brother and sister, and they'll be backed by a drummer, but it's kind of a group that Alice Barhawk has worked with, and big fans of their music. If you look at their music online, you'll only see about 3 singles. They really put out a modest amount of music, but it's been received internationally. People are really interested in them. And then on Friday, so that group will play both days. And then on Friday, Galen Lee will perform. And then on Saturday, Joe Rainey Sr. So that's the lineup over the weekend. And then Low will perform from about 8:30 to 10 each night.
It's just the logistics for folks. It's down near Stillwater.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to describe where it is?
We're north of Stillwater, near Square Lake, which is, there's a county park at Square Lake that people get us confused with, but we're not in the county park. We're up the hill on a private property. And the address is on our website, but it's pretty easy to get here. There's some construction on Manning right now, so make sure to follow the detour. Anybody who is looking for instructions, look at your Google map. It's an old, it's a hobby. Paul's parents bought the property as a hobby farm when he was a baby. And his dad has built the stage and the barn where we normally show movies in the barn. We're not doing that this year because of COVID, but his dad built everything, almost everything that we're doing.
Should folks bring lawn chairs?
Yeah, one of the best ways to experience the event, I would say, would be on a blanket on the hillside. And because you just really, you might say, melt into the property, and just and it's a unique amphitheater. It's one that everyone is. It sounds really good. It really The music from the stage is carried out to the audience, and it's not super loud, but it still is very present. And so the best way would be bring a blanket, maybe bring a little bug spray. Looks like we've got good weather next weekend. The other logistics are that you can bring your own beverage. We will have food on site from Ice House.
Ooh,
And that we really are encouraging people to carpool, get innovative with carpooling. That will really help us. You know, that we're sold out for Saturday, and there are still about 30 tickets available for Friday. So
Wow.
that and Friday will be great. Galen's performed here before, and it's on a short list of artists that people always ask for again.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
there's
you-
something haunting about her music. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah, haunting is a good way to describe that sound.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how this all started originally? Like how you have the coolest parents in the world, it sounds like.
I do feel very blessed by my parents. They've always given me a lot of space. You know, they've literally and
Literally,
yeah, they and I remember, you know, it's one of those things where it's like my favorite story to tell, so I'll try to condense it. But just basically, when I was young, I discovered this building that was on our property, and in it there was a something called a gyrocopter, which is kind of like a hybrid of an airplane and a helicopter, and that barn became a space where I would just go and be creative and just imagine, pretend I was flying. And then when I got into music, my dad built a stage in that barn, and I'd play drums there and practice and have a band. That's where my band would practice. And then I started to have parties there, and it just kind of turned into something that I felt comfortable having people come to. There was even a point in high school where I hosted the Battle of the Bands at my own house. School paid me to do it. That would never happen again. And then I think, like everybody, I saw some of those large festivals like Lollapalooza. That was my introduction to music. But then right after that, I moved to Japan for a couple of years, and I saw very smaller events that were still very intentional and funded and real. They weren't private parties, they were public, but they were intentionally small. And when I came home, I just kind of put that idea into the property. And that's partly in how we promote it, the minimum that we can. We try to have it be mostly word of mouth, kind of like the age-old way of finding out about events, and just focusing on the arts as little extra as possible. So that's kind of the short story. And then can't believe we've been doing it now for 18 years, and this will be the 18th event. Almost an uninterrupted sequence of years. There was 1 year where we didn't do it, and then of course we skipped last year because we've become a every other year event.
I like too how you've had different artists paint the barn or musicians make the posters. You've really highlighted the Minnesota art scene too.
Yeah, it's two things about that. One is just the incredible amount of art being produced and amazing bands. It's kind of hard to go wrong, so I don't take a lot of credit for the great posters or artists. There's just so many around here. But then I do really like it. I like having parts of the event that make it exciting for us. I think that's really important to sustain our interest. Like if we were to just stick with one identity for all the years, it would get boring. And the film score is like opening a Christmas present, you know, because we haven't seen it until it's performed. So that keeps the energy for the curators as well as the attendees, I think. And Minnesota is a great state for Arts Fund. It's really significant what we've done, and we're reaping the benefits of that.
Yeah, I think in a traditional, or like traditional for us, a more normal festival year where we've got a lot of bands in film. One of the things that I love about it is the way that Paul, he curates the bands typically. Like, you know, we talk about it together, but he's just got his finger on the pulse of things more than I do. And if you go to there's a lot of music festivals where I think there's just not as many surprises in the lineup. And I'm always discovering something wonderful here that I didn't know was around before, because Paul invited a band to play, and it's a unique, there's something eclectic about the mix of genres that he comes up with often. And I mean, that was my first experience at the festival. I didn't really even know that there was great local music. Like, I listened to the radio is how I discovered music. And then after I met Paul, I just was like amazed at the live music that I saw in his parents' backyard. And that's continued to happen every year.
I was going to say, Ann and I, again and again, always say we love like the best of Minnesota's or whatever, where you have all the different genres and you get to be like, whoa, I wouldn't have gone to this show or whatever. And it becomes one of your new favorite finds. I love that.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you go about finding your people? I know they have to apply, right?
No, I feel like I rely on a circle of people whose musical interests resonate with me, and I feel like I listen to them and I ask them about, and I feel like that's really the process that I think has worked over the years, is a collaborative process of getting a sense of artists that, you know, that could, you know, you might say rub them together and get a spark, like instead of just two genres that are the same next to each other. And
That's not me.
That's not you.
Okay. I was like, here I went again.
I'm gonna pause